Okay, that's me on mute. All right. So what is going on, everybody? Mario here, and we are live with the champ, Woodsy Mike Woods, writer extraordinaire, commentator extraordinaire. He does it all, and in all honesty, Woodsy, let me give you this type of intro.
Okay.
One of the last, let's put it this way. One of the most valued boxing minds left in the sport. In a sport that I think was filled with the best journalists to ever cover a sport. That's not the case today. And it's
No.
not because the top of the top isn't, still incredible. Guys like Doug Fisher, and then even other guys
No,
like
it's
Nate
not.
who've come up.
No,
It's not that.
No, it's not
Tell
even.
me
The
then.
top is not incredible anymore, bro. You had it right the first time. It's a degraded age. I'm part of a degraded age.
I feel like that too sometimes. But yeah, so we're going to talk about a lot of different stuff, but we are going to start at the top of the list. And if you got here from TikTok, or if you got here from Twitch, or if you got here from X, then the likelihood is you tapped on to hear us talk about this specific topic. Jaime Munguia has failed his drug test, the sample A, making him the third person in the camp of Canelo, third high-profile fighter to fail a test. Mike, you said something on Twitter a while back, and it's apropos of this. And then I saw Steve Kim say kind of the same thing, but about this specific topic. And it's like, when something happens one time, it can be considered an anomaly. When something happens a second time, you can definitely start to take precautions or view it as suspect. But when this happens a third time, and the word you use is that is data, it's a repeat. You know what I mean? These are things that we can see happening, trending. You know what I'm saying? So, Woodsy, first and foremost,
connect the goddamn dots.
Yeah. Listen, I think that's exactly what it is.
How many do you need? How many dots do you need, bro?
Exactly. Talk to us. What do you think about this aspect of it, and where do you see this as far as the face of boxing, Canelo, now being very heavily considered sus in the sport?
Okay, well, that right there, you make an assertion that plenty of folks that root for Canelo are going to say not true. There is no linkage. There's no correlation. Things are yet to be, and I won't wait because they never will be properly proven one way or another. So you're left with supposition. You're left with your interpretation, and your interpretation is influenced by the seat you are in. The seat you are in and the seat I am in. Fans mostly who like to watch good fights. And right, we don't have vested interest, I don't at all, in Canelo, right? In the being that is Canelo. So, God, summing it up, I think, how about this? We get to the people who are tuning in right now and tell them, if they don't know, that Munguia has already responded, or his people responded and sent out a missive, a note of explanation, of reaction. And of course, not one of the you or me or anyone is going to be surprised. The gist of it is, I know nothing. This is a surprise to me. I'm going to look into contamination. And there's some phrasing in it that is just lawyerly. So, all in all, what to make of it? For me, it's pretty much business as usual. Oof. I wouldn't, let's put it this way, it never surprises me. If anyone in the sport at the highest level, any single one, there was a report that they tested dirty, I wouldn't be surprised at any of them.
So let me ask you, and I'm not trying to displace belief.
The status quo, bro. Does that make it right? No. It ain't
Okay,
right.
okay,
It is the way it is. So,
right might not be the right word. Right not be the right. Right might not be the right word, Mike. Yeah. But is it our faults as consumers if we're surprised these days? Is it our fault to be shocked? If you are looking at a fan right now, a genuine fan that pays for DAZN, pays for pay-per-views, all of that, and he is watching this and like, oh my God, one of my favorite fighters? No. That contaminates that whole card, not knowing in the reality that the vast majority of those people might actually be on some type of performance enhancers. Because also the problem, Mike, is real quick, we don't even understand performance enhancers to this day, right? First of all, the people that make them are always 10 steps ahead of the people that police it. And second of all, what is a performance enhancer? Is cocaine a performance enhancer? Because if so, then De La Hoya's been
but you get busted. But you get busted for it.
Is pot a performance enhancer?
No.
If it numbs your pain during a fight, see, you can put the narrative on anything, right? You can put the narrative on anything, but these are hardcore drugs. And at the end of the day, they've continued to be an issue. And there has never been anyone in any sort of position of power that has actually tried to do anything credible to not just, all they want to do is sustain it. That's all they want to do. They want to sustain the weather. They want to sustain the storm.
Mario,
and that's it.
You gave yourself away a little bit there when you said no one in a position of power has ever. Now, almost. Here and there are people that are trying to adhere to some standards. Looking on the brighter side, I think it's good that we haven't capitulated totally. That all this shit hasn't turned into the just use whatever the fuck you want Olympics.
That's starting to happen, though. That's more and more people are starting to say that.
Yeah, no, there's actual league. One of the Trump boys is involved in the giving up the money for it. The all you can use fucking PED league athletic championships.
Crazy.
Yeah, so those people would say, dude, we're just living in reality. Munguia, you're a libtard who lives in fucking fantasy land, bro. So is you, Woods.
I think it's pronounced Texas, but yeah, fantasy land's fine.
And you're not a libtard, actually. I know you're probably in the
middle. I try.
But for something like this, you would be derided as, okay, here's a way to look at all of it. When you were describing it to me, well, what does it all mean? And you were talking about a hypothetical fan who was like, no, what the fuck? Canelo's my boy. And that is so much of what has changed, I'm going to say, over the course of my life and career, how we watch sports and interpret it as a fan. In the social media age, it becomes something that more so is part of your identity. And it takes on maybe an exaggerated importance to some people. If you go online, right, heavy Canelo heads, sometimes you wonder, it's like, damn, is that person getting paid? They've tweeted out fucking 20 times today, right, about, are you getting paid? No, actually, most of the time. And by the way, I cast myself in this lot as well. I get over passionate and right, and I spend too much time. And what am I doing? What are they doing? They're all spewing out content for Elon Musk. Free. Interacting with each other. You keeping me on and I'm right. So we're giving away our labors free and our intellectual property free. And it's not as good as it used to be. People care differently now. It's like these stars are an extension of them. It's warped. It's an age of narcissism in which the defenses that many people have are different than ones that they used to use. So many of the defenses now are who you align yourself with, right? That's my identity. And I'm going to find solace and other folks within that community. So it gets fucking weird, right?
It does. It very much gets weird.
And it's probably not the best place to look at the problem. What is the best place to look at the problem? I'm going to say always from the most true, deep, dark truest aspect and insular granularity of it. And what is that? That is, should people cheat to compete? And the answer to that depends on, I don't know, your character, right?
Yeah, no, definitely.
What the fuck is character these days? How many people are teaching character? You're teaching it in your home. I'm teaching it in my home, hopefully to my kids. But out and about in the business world, how much is character and integrity being
how much is it worth? Exactly.
on?
Exactly. No. And that's kind of this whole big issue right now for me, right? Because look, 5-10 years ago, the narrative on PEDs was simple. If there's a fighter you don't like, accuse him of PEDs and ignore the, evidence for the fighter that you like, right? And to be plain and simple and not beat around the bush, the Mayweather Pacquiao fight of, the decade or whatever it was. That's what it was. Exactly.
Partisan political issue.
Exactly.
Instead of people maintaining intellectual and characterological consistency and attacking it and dealing with it from that standpoint.
Absolutely.
And that's an erroneous, that's an not level playing field.
No way.
That continues to be how it will be seen, though, because it is a political issue, because people at the top get away with things that people in the bottom get busted for. And so if you say, well, will it continue? Will we crack down on it? The cynic in me says, it will continue because there are not adequate standards, practices, and policies to fight back and bite
exactly
back.
In fact the opposite is true in boxing, right? Because we talked about it, you said it earlier, I mentioned those in power that have tried to curb this issue and things like that, but the problem is that the people that are actually in power of this at some point face a moment where it directly affects them. I am an advocate for PEDs, and then I get a phone call saying Conor Benn is tested positive. Now what am I? I'm an advocate of Ryan Garcia, but now I have a test. Somebody calling me saying I have a test. Ryan Garcia has failed, and just like that, Bob Arum, Eddie Hearn, Frank, Oscar, Al, the list will go on and on of people who have stood in front of a camera and said no to steroids, no to performance enhancers. And then the moment that they are put on the hot stove and it directly affects their wallet, that is no longer the case.
Correct. So what of them? What do we say? I think it depends on your legacy. It depends. Do you care about legacy? It depends on how you want to be seen in the wider world. And I will say there are repercussions, even for people like Eddie Hearn.
I hope so.
In my estimation, I will say it. I could say it to his face too. I wouldn't mind. I would be respectful, but I would say, all due respect, Eddie, I think you took a credibility hit when you expended so much capital on defending Conor Benn.
Yes.
It didn't say it right. It
wasn't like he just made it. It wasn't like he just hired an independent body to study this. There were marketing agencies involved. There were PR masters involved. This was a full-fledged. I don't want to say cover up. That's not the right word.
Why is that? Why was that all that shit involved?
Because he's an entity. Because he's a welterweight entity.
Because it's money.
Yeah. He represents big
piles of fucking money. So the stakes are such.
Exactly. You think Arnold Barboza 3 years ago gets popped and that they're going to go to the wall with him for him? No, they're not going to defend him like that. But Conor Benn, absolutely.
That's the way the world works. Yeah,
absolutely. Canelo, listen to me. I know this to be true. Not a fact. I'm not saying a fact because I don't know this is a fact, but I know this to be true in my world, in my life, in the universe that I've lived. Canelo's team is still scrubbing articles from 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah, you know how I know?
How?
Because some of my friends are the people that are getting them taken down, and some of the editors that I know are the ones that are trying to fight back against it. But they're still scrubbing the internet of any sort of and the control with Canelo. That's
what platforms. What platforms have they scrubbed it off of?
So social media. I'll say that for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't really. It's hard because this is a situation that's like ongoing, right? I can tell you that there are a few people that are fighting like on Reddit, but like things like 8chan, 4chan that have been taken away. And don't get me wrong, I understand how problematic a lot of those places are.
Okay.
But for some of us who have the journalistic integrity, but don't have the platform and or are working counter against the people. Look, somebody one of the biggest boxing people just bought the journalism, the biggest journalistic
butt ring, turkey butt ring, Gary
turkey butt
Jonas
ring, right?
boxing scene.
And
That's
that
right.
is essentially the same thing as what Trump did by winning the presidency. He didn't buy CBS, he didn't buy ABC.
You are the platform, yeah.
But he scared them into
Mhm.
giving him millions of dollars. And now he's taking it out on any person that's ever said anything bad to him. And again, I don't want to make this all political, but I'm just trying to show you the comparisons between what this is. It's not about the truth. It's about how can I shape the media to tell the narrative that I want them to know.
Agreed.
In 5 years, if Conor Ben continues his career in an upward trajectory, there are going to be enough casual fans that come in after the fact that the narrative may not even exist in 5-10 years. It may be this little footnote in his career. Now, again, he'd have to get, really big. But that could be a thing that happens, because this isn't about what happens in the sport of boxing. It is not about the results in the ring. It is about the narrative that you can spin outside of it. How many writers do you have, on text chains or in groups that you could just in a moment give them something that they're going to run to their social media to put out, because it's always about being first too. Mm-hmm. This whole system has been put against itself so that we all fight for scraps in a dying sport. And it's just disgusting now. It is disgusting when the Yankees of boxing, which is, Team Reynoso, let's be honest about that. When they are the ones that are being caught cheating every few years. I mean, here's the list, right? And you know it, but I'm going to just give it to the people that are
give us 5.
Yeah. So this is the list, right? Of all the right here. Okay, so Canelo Alvarez, Jaime Munguia, Oscar Valdez, Luis Nery, Julio Cesar Martinez was with him at that time when they did it. And even though Ryan Garcia's back and forth time is the timeline is a little messed up, he is still
around
there.
A couple of those people were okay. The timing.
No. Yes, they're not all the same.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. The narrative doesn't connect them all. This isn't some mass. Listen, that's what I'm trying to say is for all these last decade that people that hated Canelo or Pacquiao or Mayweather that accused them of steroids, it was all about, spinning narratives. That's all it was, right? Now today, we exist in a world where their crazy conspiracy stuff may have had something to it.
Sure.
But the problem is it's never as deep as they want it to be, right? They want it to be the Mexican mafia hired the cartel who somehow paid off U.S. officials who somehow got into
I didn't hear that one. That's
tape
good.
hands.
That's good,
it's crazy, right? They'll go everywhere with it. I mean, that's why there's a certain person sitting in the White House right now is because narratives and propaganda work better than the truth, because the truth is the truth is we are all in love with a sport that is the most selfish sport in the world. Let me tell you, Mike, you know why this is a problem that isn't a problem like in baseball and NFL and everything? Because those are franchises. Those are organizations that make millionaires that help make billionaires. Okay. Boxing is not that. Boxing is a consortment of small, let's call them businesses or small corporations that literally like hire a dozen people maybe. And that money is all kept in house. So the corporate type of monopolization, right, and capitalism that we see in the open market on Wall Street and things like that are gross and dirty and just part of the business, that is boxing. That's how it exists. Why would anybody who's in a position to make all the money that they can from it, and they are completely monopolizing the sport, be in a position to say no to their fighters? Boo. Okay, we're going to suspend you for 2 years. Okay, Jaime Munguia, we're going to drop you. That's not going to happen. They're going to try to wait and then big baby him back into the thing, Mike. So this never changes. And I'm not being a cynic. No. I'm being a realist about boxing. I've watched it for too long to be told anything else and think that it's correct.
Agree. No,
So
no debating you. And so you ask yourself, why is my sport in the state that it's in?
yes,
Why isn't
why,
it
Mike?
more popular? Why is it in a person covering? And is there a certain ceiling, right? We don't
Ooh, good
enjoy
call.
the luxury of the other fucking immensity of the sports. We're a really small fucking pool, bro.
Niche, yes.
We are so niche. I like this direction you're going in because to me it is about, you know, being more honest and having a ruthless appraisal. We're not in a boom time. And American boxing in the last X number of years, definitely not a fucking boom time.
No,
You
not at
know,
all.
we've been running, they've been running the business a little bit into the ground more than they should. A lot of it comes down to, though, more than the perception and the reality and the marketing and all that we're talking about, all that would somewhat be out the window when we get the next Tyson or the next, right? And,
Exactly.
you know,
Exactly.
bro, that ain't been around in this country for a couple years, right? That is not been around in America in a while.
You're absolutely right.
Top
And that
pound
is
for
a
pound
part
guys,
that is
Carson
missing.
Crawford, have been from outside the U.S., and that is a huge ceiling blocker on the coverage and the love and the breadth of the sport. It's capped it real hard. It's
It
fucking.
has.
Who are the boxing fans around where you live? You know, out and about. Who knows about it? No one knows about it. They might, you know, some might
There's
know the name Canelo, but not even
but
that,
not
bro.
enough.
Not
No
even
way.
that.
No way. No way. When I was in school, Oscar De La Hoya was known by anybody that
Yeah,
played football, anybody that played basketball. The
yeah.
softball players loved him. Believe it or not, a few of them thought that I favored a young Oscar De La Hoya back in the day. This is, you know, pre-mustache, pre ability to grow facial hair, actually. But two things have been said,
Ability.
Mike. Two things have been said in the
Yeah.
last few months that I want to ask you about, because you've kind of you definitely sparked something in my head that makes me want to ask you. So two things have been said in this year, 2025.
Yeah.
One of them was not that long ago. It was May 4th or 3rd, whatever it was. Turkey said on Ring TV, for some reason, to Pat McAfee and Booker T, that boxing will be better when it has a black champion. Now, some people misunderstood what he said,
Oh, I didn't
and
hear
he
that.
got
Yeah.
heat. Yeah, he got heat for it too, because first of all, there are black heavyweight champions. Their names have been Joshua and things like that. But he was specifically saying an American black boxing fan, you know, and because he brought up guys like Mike Tyson and
Okay.
Muhammad Ali. Now, I want to make this kind of
Hmm.
principled argument. Now that's a nuanced topic, right?
Yeah, I
That
could argue
as
that.
a
Yeah.
non-black American, I
I could
don't
argue
really
that. Yeah.
super feel comfortable talking about it, but I do think he has a point. And then you look at what Dana and a few of the people right before the big TKO boxing shit blew up, what
Yeah.
he said about boxing and MMA. And that led to a Rolling Stones article that said that UFC has now become one of the fastest rising American pastimes. Why is that? According to Dana and a few others from that have been interviewed, it is because the white American combat sports fan has been driven away from boxing for whatever reasons. I mean, obviously, there's a bunch of people that say a bunch of things about that,
Got
and
you.
that
Yep.
MMA has allowed the white American, I guess, to feel a non-judgmental tone when they are celebrating or watching UFC or MMA with their fellow MMA fans. It's kind of like they're all in the same bubble, right? It's this Rogan sphere
It
with a bunch of
goes
people who
back to
kind
what
of
I was saying about identity.
yes, it really is identity
And
politics in sports. That's
politics
exactly what
being
it is.
about identity. So that has bled in more, and it's made it more complex, I guess, as you cover it. The Dana thing is a little bit different and interesting because this is my perception. I have not watched UFC in the last 10 years enough to really weigh in with any kind of depth. But again, it's about the athletes. I was on with Abe Gonzalez, or I was just talking to him yesterday, and was talking about the old days and when thing was more popular and not. UFC, circa 2006, 7, 8, Chuck Liddell, Randy Couture, Rich Franklin, Matt
Rampage,
Hughes,
Evans,
all them and Rashad, and but I was talking
oh,
about
the Caucasians. Yes, yes, yes.
skin color,
Yes.
identifiable with Caucasians.
Yes.
That is important. And that's not saying the world is racist. It is about people identifying with people that look more and sound more and act more like them. That's all. It's not fucking odious.
It isn't odious. It isn't odious. You know what? When I see a young Hispanic fighter like Bam, right? And this is before, like on his rise, I watched Bam, not knowing how special he was, but seeing that there could be something special about him. But I watched him because I know he's been to, this is going to sound, maybe this sounds really stupid, honestly, now that I'm thinking about it.
What?
But I watch him because he's been to quinceañeras. I watch him because he's probably done vasados at his house, you know, with his super over religious Catholic grandmother. Like these are things I connect to him. You know what I'm saying?
Why demean yourself and say that that's stupid? That's not stupid
right.
at all.
I don't know why. I don't know why I said that. It's my culture, and I'm proud of it, and I love it. But at the same time, I'm also proud of Crawford. Like he comes from a place in the South that is also diminished. Like there's so many things I connect
don't even
to
have
with fighters.
You see, I think we feel sometimes because it's become politicized and out there in the social media sphere, you can get accused of things.
Yes, thank you, bro.
You don't have to.
I'm so mad at myself.
Like Crawford. You don't have to like Crawford as fucking.
You're so right, bro.
It's not racist.
I've been beating myself up, bro, for like 5 months now, probably even a little longer, because
maybe
I did
5 years. Yeah.
I did not stand up enough during this election. You know, because I was scared, because I knew that Biden was an old man that shouldn't have been the president. I knew that the Democrats have gotten into so many ugly, gross things that it was hard to defend any one of them. But I knew it was not just my truth. It was things that I could back up with facts that man would be a far worse president. And there's no doubting it. And I'm tired of trying to be correct because I have so many friends that feel a certain way.
Far worse than Trump?
No. That's who I'm talking about. That he was the worst option.
Yes.
There are people. Yes, Biden's team took over and there was no longer a president. And that's dangerous and that's bullshit. But it's not as bullshit as selling our country away to the dissident right, the fanatical Christians, all these groups that he's trying to appease. That, by the way, in his 90% of his life, none of these things have been anything he's ever talked about. So it's all fake. You know that. Yes. But I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything because I didn't want to be classified a libtard or a softie or anything. But you know what? I'm done. Fuck y'all. Y'all are the morons. I'm not stupid. Y'all are stupid.
Yeah.
If you still believe in this man, I'm done. You're a moron. It's as simple as that.
Munguia.
I'm cooked.
How did we get from there to here?
You're right, Chef. You're right. And that's what I'm saying. It's the frustration.
Not saying that's wrong, but that's interesting. That's where your brain went.
I don't know. I don't know if it's propaganda or not. Because I have genuine friends that felt like Chuck Liddell represented something about them, right? I'm from a place in Texas that is mostly Hispanics. But we all spent time on a ranch. We all spent time on a farm. Like we're all that culture. You know what I'm saying? So it's like people from the rancho, people from the barrio, like I connect to them, even though
you could see Mario, you could see yourself being friends with Chuck Liddell.
Absolutely. Well said. Right? You can have a beer with those people.
Okay, so this is very important. And this is one of the big reasons why we as professional boxing, are not particularly flourishing right now in the United States. How many of those people are practitioners who we feel the same way about?
Well,
I will wait for you to catch up and give me a long list because it's going to take you a while because it's hard to find.
Very difficult.
Yeah.
Very, very difficult. And it all kind of like harps back to this thing where it feels like whoever you're a fan of is supposed to say something about you politically or
Right.
personally, right? If you're a guy who enjoys PBC over Top Rank, they're going to call you something online. If you're a guy that enjoys, or thinks Rick Glacier is funny content, then they're going to call you something about that.
Hey, Mario.
And all these people have been unfairly characterized by certain aspects of their belief, and it's unfair, and that's why we're all terrified.
I have a theory here, and the theory is that it doesn't pay to be intellectually consistent. It pays to be playing in the muckrake field of polarity, because that's where emotions are being, right? You're preying on emotion,
hit back and forth,
anger and frustration, and that brings up activity. Whereas conciliation and mediation does not. So
no, you're absolutely right.
So I will say for myself right now, could be bullshitting myself, but that mindset holds me back. If I had proven to be more susceptible and to be more inclined to go that other route, hop on a partisan bus and kind of market like that, then I would be more successful. But that's not my fucking way. I don't know. So summing up now, this is for Eddie Hearn, this is for Mike Woods, this is for you. How do you want to conduct yourself? How do you want to act? How do you want to be seen? Do you want to act with integrity, intellectual consistency, or not? Now, not pays much better than maintaining intellectual consistency, etc. That is what it is. That is, to an extent, that has always been the way. It's just amplified now, probably because of social media. Everything's amped. Not everything, but right?
But a lot.
Amplification. So we bitch about it and how it is and what, and to a degree, shit, same as it ever was.
So let me ask you some direct questions about Jaime Munguia. What do you make now of his future in boxing? Is his legacy tainted? Is there any sort of way he can make a comeback? What do you think? Is he young enough to be able to weather the storm?
6 months, slap on the wrist, fight it, contamination, blah, 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 blah. Within a week, market Munguia, within a fucking week, you'll barely even remember that he was busted, because 13 other stupid fucking things will pop up, bro. So legacy, whatever. I mean, you're
right.
It's kind of sounding a little cynic here, whatever. But no, is it cynicism or is it reality? It is what it is. And this is why that list, it pays. It pays to dirty play. It pays better. It pays to take that risk. What is the risk? It's not actually that humongous risk, bro. Everyone's allowed to keep on playing and earning. And only very rarely is someone getting really, right? Big Baby, it was only on his 4th PED positive, had a ban, right?
My God.
Had a ban amongst all the sanctioning bodies and agreed to with the commission, ABC, for 2 years. Only off his 4th fucking positive. So, bro, it is what it is.
You know what why it hurts?
Birdies.
You know what hurts about this? There's this docuseries that's on Hulu right now, and it's a bunch of they're different stories every show. And this one episode was about Ricky Williams, and I knew this happened. It's called, let me text my wife and ask her.
Okay.
Because I think it's called
on Hulu, yeah.
Oh man, I can't remember, but it's really good. I'll text you. And so this is the episode on Ricky Williams talked about how he was mic dropped off. He was basically like ripped off by his manager. His manager essentially
lost for a second.
No
I'm
problem.
sorry. Yo, he's trying to share you. I was trying
Nope.
to
Oh, I
share you, and then
appreciate
it fucking disappeared. Sorry, bro.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. But the Ricky Williams doc was basically about how his manager ripped him off. She was this woman who was like she was like handled money for a bunch of stars, but she ripped Ricky off worse than all of them. Millions
Yep.
she took from him. But going through this story, it brought me back, and I remember very, very well now. Ricky Williams, basically, they made him end his career because he was a cannabis user. And, you know, Mike, you know me well enough to know that I am a very big advocate of cannabis, everything that it can do, and everything that it can do in place of opioids is one of the biggest reasons for me.
I hear you.
And,
Hear you.
and that
Loud
was
and
the
clear.
thing.
Yeah.
That was the thing for Ricky, is he had been on opioids. They had put him on different types of things that would make him play through the pain.
Yeah.
He hated it. And
Yeah.
it's not good for you to have
No,
that. So
no.
the fact that this guy's career got shortened because of a drug that should be legal and would help people in ways that other medications absolutely hurt them.
Right.
And yet this guy wasn't able to continue in that league. And yet every single thing you said about Munguia is likely true when you look at examples of Big Baby, Oscar Valdez, Ryan Garcia, and the list goes on and on and on and on. And those aren't even the worst offenders, by the way. So yeah, it sucks, dude. It really, really sucks that this is the case and that this is the sport that I'm so in love and infatuated with. And yet it doesn't care about the people that compete in that ring.
You are in love and you are infatuated and you have not even secret enmity towards. It's a long-term relationship. Those are always not smooth sailing. There's going to be
hell yeah. Bumps in the road.
They describe boxing, and this is better when coming from a practitioner, as a cruel mistress.
Yeah, for sure.
A cruel mistress and a bitch of a wife. No offense. It's the nature of long-term relationships.
Definitely. Listen, I want to get into another topic here. Teofimo Lopez. We know, basically what has been going on for by the way, last few years. He did that whole garbage man thing and homeless thing. That was like 2022 or 2023.
Yeah,
so
he's been doing this
it's not new
in this manner for a few years.
Exactly. There are a lot of boxing fans and just people out there in the world that think he's gone too far, that he's crossed the line. And then when you think about whether or not his words are politically correct or not, aside from that, he is poking the turkey bear. And he is not doing it in any way that's apologetic. It is a hardcore campaign meant to, I guess, piss off Turkey enough to put him in a big fight. I don't know what his logic is.
A hardcore campaign to attract attention.
Yes. The Kanye West form of
the publicity. Kanye West, or you can probably maybe more of a influence on him. Jake Paul.
Yes.
Logan Paul.
Andrew Tate, style, I think, as well.
What do? We attract attention, positive or negative. The ratio is up to you, whatever you can handle, 60-40 or fucking 80-20 or whatever. Do you need to be fucking liked or not? I
didn't even think about it that way.
Listen, Munguia, this is crucial. I do. I'm not really built for this age. Sensitive soul and heart. I don't want a fucking 70-30 or a 60-40. I want fucking 90-10 or better.
Yeah.
I'm not built for this age.
I'm done,
as a journalist, right? Because, and this goes beyond journalism, but heavily for that, I am not, as a matter of fact, crazy built to want to attract attention to myself.
Same.
Think about it. What am I? What have I been? A reporter. Asking questions to get answers is what it ultimately boils down to, and then sharing it with other people.
Yes.
Because
with a perspective that you have that is only comes from being in this sport and doing this job over time. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why I respect the Lance Pugmires of the world, and I respect the Thomas Hausers of the world, because regardless of what you think, they've been in every single arena. Like, they've seen it all. You know what I mean? And
but you're different. You're different.
In what way?
Experience, in fact, is not rewarded like it was back in the day. That's part of
Very well said.
the dilution and the degradation, or what have you.
Great point.
That we referenced earlier. It's all about more so what you doing for me right now. And that's partially, it is what it is, blah, blah. But it is also erroneous.
It is. It's erroneous, Mike, because
getting bullshit fucking hot takes, because they're a little bit fucking good with wording, or maybe they're attractive more than anything else, their shit gets eaten up. But the real wisdom, the smarter fucking shit, the deeper truths, not as much represented.
And that's the problem. And that's the problem, Mike, right? You did, and I'm not, listen, this is all just 100% how I feel. Okay. Yeah. When you did the show the other night with DAZN, you added something to it, right? Because it isn't just your knowledge on boxing, it's your knowledge on chemistry with the other man next to you. You know what I mean? That's almost as vital, probably more so, than what you actually know about what's going on in the ring. You know, you can just relay what you're seeing, but if you don't have that, if you don't have that chemistry, it doesn't work. And you bring those things to the table and you make a more interesting experience. You make a better production for those of us that are watching the content for the content. But then when you see guys like Pat McAfee and Booker T,
big of a number, bro.
But that's what I'm saying though. They do it right. It's exactly what you're saying. They bring Pat McAfee in, they bring Booker T in for this ring show, and it's like, don't get me wrong, they're two guys that I think are great on the mic, no matter what they're doing.
They got following.
There are so many people that would have done a better job in that position, and that's what exactly. It's about numbers. Simple as that. As simple as that, man. And
I have 15,600 goddamn Twitter followers, and not one of them is fucking paid for, motherfucker. Whatever. Big fucking
yeah. No.
But no, actually, it's not masturbatory. I'm fucking actually proud of it. I pretend not to fucking be cool or whatever. But that's the fucking truth. That's the truth. And yeah, there are some goddamn points, hopefully, for fucking longevity and quote unquote integrity and whatever. But they're hard-run points. They aren't big fucking points. It's better to be hyper-partisan, blowhard cheerleader
than anything else. Yeah. That's the It does. It's every single genre.
Yeah.
On social media, movies, entertainment, politics. Anything you can do to gain that attention.
That's right.
Yeah, look, I just see Tio, right? And it hurts a little more that it's him, because this was the guy, this was the draft night guy on ESPN. This was the guy that put in the work, right? And they gave him the spotlight because he showed up every time and he put on a show. But that Tio is gone. And it's not even that I'm saying he's gone in the ring. I'm saying like the mentality or the perspective that I see and how I view him is no longer the same, because these desperate ploys for attention are so far removed from the type of mentality that I know that it takes to get in that ring and say, I'm going to fight the best and I'm going to fight him my way. And Tio's gone so far from that.
But he still wants that. That's a crucial differentiator. He calling out Boots Ennis, who is skill-wise.
Damn, that's a good point, Mike.
Would be favored to beat him.
Shit, that's a good point. That's a good point. You're right.
He's both crazy and brave.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think of that. You know, somebody asked me last night on the live what fight I'd prefer, Tio and Boots or Tio and Haney. And now you could make arguments why both of those, like I could argue why I want to see either one, right?
Haney, bro.
But the point is he wants them though. That is the point, is that he wants them. You know, for all these guys that are getting these big wins and immediately call out Ryan Garcia or start mentioning Logan or Jake Paul's name, like there's this one guy here who actually does want the toughest fights in those divisions.
Why do I bring that up? Because that is a mitigator. Mitigate what? Some of the stupid, dumb, silly, infantile, sophomoric shit that sometimes the guy does, including using racial tropes and what have you.
Yeah, and
Listen,
see,
I don't take things as take things more with a grain of salt than I used to, because guess what?
me too.
It's all bait. It's
It's all
all bait.
and that's where my respect ended for him, honestly, Mike. And I hate to say this because he's one of my favorite fighters in the ring. But look, you can be an idiot, right? There's no law against being dumb or not being educated enough on certain topics, especially ones that are very nuanced, right? But he came out and he said, essentially, I'm done using the race bait stuff. He came out and said that. And that right there is an admission that was all for clout. That was all for posturing. You know, I don't know if you know who Nick Fuentes is. And if you know who Charlie Kirk is. These are two very right-wing
Charlie Kirk, I
people,
know.
right? Charlie Kirk is more of the commercial right-wing guy, and Nick Fuentes is basically a neo-Nazi. He's a white supremacist, right? He doesn't consider himself a Nazi, but he is a white supremacist. Okay.
Proud boy.
Let me tell you something real quick. Believe it or not, I respect Nick Fuentes more. I do. I don't appreciate his content. I don't appreciate his topics, but at least he stands on his fucking business. If you're going to be a racist, if you're going to be a white supremacist, then I respect you telling me. That way I don't have to fuck with you. And then in a month, 2 months, 3 months, a year, find out some fucking crazy thing about you that makes you psychotic. Okay. But I respect it. I respect you standing on the business. I don't respect people like Charlie Kirk and others who talk that shit, but then won't stand behind that business, right?
Okay,
because
Mario,
you can say all the shit you want to get the attention, but then when they call you on it and you don't stand on it, that makes you a bitch. And I'm sorry, Theo was making bitch moves then, if that was his only reason for doing and saying the things he said.
Okay, not to take sides or what have you, but to take that other side.
Please.
At least he admitted to it. At least he fessed up and admitted and said, I'm not going to do it anymore. That is more than I get from almost anywhere else, anywhere,
Good
bro.
Call. Good call. You're right.
So
you're right. At least he admitted it, right?
Yeah.
Because if he didn't,
no one
then he's
admits
playing
anymore, bro.
stupid
That's
on
that's
purpose.
the Trump handbook more than any other.
Bro, you're right.
Do not
You're right.
ever admit anything was an error.
You're absolutely right. Okay, so then let me hear your take on this, right? Because he put out this video today. I don't know if you saw it or not, but basically he said he apologized to Turkey for everything he said, but he did it in a roundabout way, where basically he said, I think he said kiss you or something to Turkey. It's like all Diddy, like basically being like really weird about it. Is there anything is this worth it? Do you think Turkey views boxing so much as an entertainment thing that he sees the value in this, or everybody at that level has an ego to some degree? Power comes ego. Is the ego too big, or is the pride too much to get beyond this for the business?
Good question. Great question. The cop-out answer is going to be time will tell. But I think your place of assessment on this is a smart place. I'm going to lean towards Turkey, assuming because he is so knee deep in this social media age and those certain metrics and attention and whatever, I'm thinking he's going to say he likes it. He don't mind it, the attention. However, it doesn't take any big psychologist, big degree to see that a certain amount of him operates within a sphere of needing likes, wanting likes, craving attention, and doing it in the name of, how much is it in the name of what he's trying to build as a brand, and how much is his own personal brand? That's up for debate. That's much more so up for debate than maybe is healthy. If you're talking about how is the Turkey al-Sheikh boxing takeover plan gonna go, I think there's more ego on display from him, and it is counterproductive in a way that I would not have called, but maybe I should have, because, dude, just because people are millionaires, tens of millionaires, et cetera, it don't always mean they make wise decisions. Big money corrupts thinking, fugs it up. So a lot of the fucking choices he's made in the last 6 months are now being scrutinized harder, not just by me, but I see activity on social media in that comment section. Look in that comment section.
Yes.
A lot of blowback, plenty of blowback.
You understand. See, you're a journalist. You know where those stories are. You're absolutely right. That's where the stories are. Because guess what? 6 months ago, like 80% of the comments were like, Turkey, the savior of boxing.
Yeah.
Turkey, the god of boxing. Thank you,
from
Turkey.
Me too,
all of them, from all of us.
Yeah.
Right? Mexican, black, white, didn't matter.
Yeah.
Top rank fan, PBC, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
We were all seeing something that we thought was good. And so you're absolutely right. Let me ask you something though before, because I do want to get to that wrestling topic.
And guess what? The mistress fucked us again.
Yeah, for real. For real, bro.
Yeah, man. She fucked with us. She didn't fuck us.
Again, bro. For real. But one more thing, topic before we switch to the wrestling topic real quick. I just want to get your opinion on this, and I'll break it down for anybody listening on playback. So essentially what we heard when the Canelo Terrence Crawford fight was finally made official was that the TKO brand of boxing, I guess, this whole takeover that they were talking and giving the reins to Dana, seemed like it was going to be put into, works, right? Dana was going to be the main promoter and all that. Things have switched up big time. And I called this, by the way. I didn't think Dana was in a position in boxing where he could successfully promote these two at the highest level. I knew he was going to need help.
Right.
Now they've switched it completely. And there are rumors that the fact that Turkey made this move of basically booting out Dana has soured the TKO boxing experience or plans or whatever. Could you touch on that a little bit? Tell us what you think might be going on and what you expect to see from that.
The layers of secrecy and who knows what on that is at a kind of a different level than I'm used to. And why is that? Because of the entity we're dealing with is not an American entity. It is not a being who has been involved in the sphere for any length of time. And therefore, the information about the behind the scenes and everything on that guy is not great.
Fascinating.
His message control is really fucking good. Well, why? Because he's how many thousands of miles away in fucking Saudi Arabia. So,
plus,
I'm not going to pretend that I know.
Okay.
What's going on any more than sort of what's been out there. But we can ascertain from what has and hasn't already happened, what you said and your take on that. This isn't a part-time entity, bro. You got to choose one. You're not going to keep on keeping all the balls afloat in UFC and keep the balls afloat in boxing. You don't have that much time in the day. So unless Dana wants to step away from the UFC for a while and fully, concentrate on the boxeo, I have a hard time conceiving how it's going to work at the level that we would think they would want it to. And maybe a final hint, this may or may not be pertinent, but I don't know of any fighters that have signed a TKO or TurkKO contract. Those were started to be offered 3 months ago. Do you know of any?
None.
So that right there lends credence to what you're saying about, I don't know that it's going as well as they hoped that it was going to go for when they were like this.
Yes.
And friends, and we're going to take over the world.
Yes.
It don't feel like it's at now. Could it go back to that? Yeah, absolutely. Stranger things have happened. But right now, it's iffy and
shaky,
it's weird.
Right? Yeah. I think at one point I want to make before we move on, I think that you said something earlier that has latched on to my mind as far as this topic goes. And you talked about UFC, and the stars that they used to have and things like that. When I look at the current UFC model, this is what it tells me. It tells me that Conor McGregor ruined the sport for the fighters. And I mean it in this way. When they saw what they had with Conor, and then now Jones and Ngannou also presented these cases or these potential moments, UFC realized we're not in the business of creating stars. This is not what we're doing. We're changing. The business model will now be we're going to put on the shows. The UFC is the star, and everyone that competes in it is a star by virtue, right? So to take that model that currently exists in the UFC, where they're not about building stars that will have all the chips on their side of the table when it comes to negotiate big fights. It's about keeping them under their thumb and not letting them ever get bigger than the organization itself. That's what it seems like. So to take that business model and try to apply it for boxing, it seems like a failed
theory there, kid. It checks out. I can't fact check it or debunk it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Dana don't like paying them. He don't like them big payouts, bro.
No, not at all. Not at all.
No, we don't.
Listen, you are an old school wrestling guy who knows the, territory days and
70s, 80s, baby.
Exactly. You have that history. I wanted to bring up this wrestling topic. I don't know how much you are aware of it, but Vince McMahon, I'm sure you're aware of this, is facing a lawsuit, multi-millions, right? Based on conduct with essays, sexual assault. I don't know why I always do the TikTok verbiage, but it's a lot of upsetting details. And there were several names that were involved in this lawsuit from the very beginning. Brock Lesnar was one of them, and John Laurinaitis, who was essentially Vince McMahon's right-hand man since he purchased the company from his dad back in the 80s. And he was part of this lawsuit as well. And, without getting too graphic, essentially, it looks like they were passing her around or things like that, just gross stuff. But it came out today that John Laurinaitis has been dropped from the lawsuit. And the narrative is that he is now working with the prosecution with the young lady's side. And he has flipped. And he will now testify.
When you said it, that was my immediate thought.
Right?
Oh, yeah. Right? Okay.
Yeah, you've done this long enough, and that's why I'm asking you this stuff. Now, aside from this bit that we learned today, right, or yesterday, I think it came out.
Yeah.
We also learned about 3 months ago that Vince is in the process of attempting to restart a new wrestling organization, and his relationship with those at Fox is good enough that they thought that was going to be a deal that was just handshakes and everybody was going to be happy. Let me ask you, the power of Vince McMahon, as you know it, right? Seeing him essentially create what wrestling is today in terms of a TV product, all the power he holds, all of the influence he holds in this industry, with his back against the wall, is Vince still capable of coming out the woodworks with something crazy like this? I mean, he's done it so many times in his career. XFL, Brawl for All. There's so many different things. He had his own powerlifting and bodybuilding organizations at one point. What's your take on all this? What do you think about Vince in this regard?
I think the answer to this question would have been different in 2021 versus now. What is acceptable? What can be looked past? What is a scandal that will attach and stay attached and stay hurting your reputation?
Profound.
Has changed. Trump convicted X number of counts, blah, blah, blah. January 6th, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. Forget it. We're looking forward.
So then does the name
looking forward to what? To making money? To attracting eyeballs? Does Vince McMahon have a track record of that? He does. Is it more complicated now because of legalities? It is. But the lawyers have a way of fucking buttoning that shit up and whatever so fucking business can be done. They do. So bet against Vince McMahon? I will not.
Well said. Well said. Oh man, you nailed it on the mark. So you have this situation, right, where wrestling is really like starting to come back again. I mean, it has been, right? The sustainability of
wrestling's like heroin. Never fucking goes away, bro.
You're so right. And even if you think it does, it's really just around in a different
bubbling
form.
under, bro. That's right, man. It's like heroin. Oh, the fucking scourge of heroin.
And all they did was it's like heroin also because they made it way easier to consume. You know what I mean? Versus the 70s and 80s. But the whole aspect of wrestling and its buildup. Do you think that there is a way of utilizing UFC, wrestling, boxing in the same kind of way that TKO seems to be trying to do, right? They have PBR, the bull riding now, and they're having these triple events where they're having like a wrestling show, and then that weekend they're also having UFC.
Ping, amplification, bounce
and is
off
boxing,
you. It goes to fucking another 3.
Exactly.
Collaboration, overlap, abso-fucking-lutely. No brainer.
Exactly. Is boxing missing out by not being a part of it then?
Well,
or is it not the same fans?
Yeah. Boxing is missing out on it, but you already said it. They're trying to do it. In the past 6 months, we've seen instances several times with Callum Walsh. And the latest one was Terrence Crawford, placing those people on the screen during a WWE event where someone who might have no idea is tuning in and saying, oh, well, that's interesting. My favorite wrestler just smashed this Terrence Crawford. Who's that?
Yeah,
we go from
absolutely. There. Man, you're so right. You're so right. That's I mean, every single time they put boxing,
how much does it work? How much does it work? The ceiling is at a fucking certain level.
Why is that? Why is that?
Alan Walsh's profile right? Just
that's
getting
good
seen
point.
on WWE Raw, does that explode you? No, it don't. You still have to continue and fucking do your fucking thing and really make that splash. Because guess what? You can't fool all of the people all the time. You can't fool a shit fucking load of them. But maybe probably not as many as you fucking think you can. Because look in the comment section, bitch. There's some fucking smart people that are making their assessments who ain't fucking wrong. So
hell yeah, definitely right. Listen, that has been the topics, but before we get out, I do want to get your prediction and overall breakdown on tomorrow night's fight, which I am absolutely excited for. Friend of the show, Darius Fulghum, who we interviewed 2 weeks ago. If you didn't get a chance to check that out, is on the YouTube channel. I love this kid. I've gotten to cover about 4 of his fights. And he just has such a great story, has a nursing degree.
He's from Texas, right?
He's from Texas, Houston. Yep. He's his own nutritionist. The things he understands about the body because of his nursing degree and the way he applies them to his athleticism and his training and his regiments is so incredible. And I think he could write a book one day about his journey as an athlete that would help others. But right now he's got Beck the Bully in front of him, who is not an easy fight. I think this is a very good fight. I have it 50-50. A lot of people think Beck is a bigger favorite than that. I think it's a 50-50 fight. Darius is really coming into his own. His last couple fights, he's shown incredible growth. How do you see this going?
I'm going to say 51-49, favoring Darius.
Love it.
A little bit better athleticism, maybe.
Yes.
Maybe that hunger, maybe that narrative within that he has to attain a certain level. So intangibles, right? A desire might be a tick above. So I'm going to go with you. Wouldn't put too much money on it without doing more further study in how each guy has looked the past 3 or so fights.
Yes.
But would put a little bit of money with you. Let's put some chips. You will put one down for me on Darius to beat Beck.
Yeah.
But only one chip from me.
Only one chip. I get it. Hey, I think you're right, and that's why I love this fight so much. Is that
Yeah.
it has those variables. Also Eric Priest on the card against Luis Arias. I think that's a great fight. You know, people might not remember Luis Arias as well because you know he had a lot more hype coming up. You know, and then he's
Yo,
lost, and it
Luis
was like a
Arias
situation where
is about 39 years old, isn't he?
yes, he's been around for a long time. He's a veteran, but at the
Yeah,
same
bro.
time, Eric Priest hasn't really been in there with anybody that
Right.
has been able to
No,
test his
that's a nice
virtue.
step up and test. And
Agreed.
yeah,
Especially the co-main event on a Friday night with DAZN. Real quick, also Caleb Plant and Resendez on Prime Video this Saturday. That's going to be the main event, with the co-main event being Jamal Charlo and Thomas Lamana. Give us those predictions real quick before we get out of here.
yeah. Don't sneeze on, don't dismiss summarily Resendez because you think he doesn't have hand speed and whatever. There's a certain level of toughness there that makes it so you don't want to discount him, even though he's going to be on the shorter end of the stick as far as being the better athlete in there. Not putting any money on Resendez, but hoping and thinking we see a fan-friendly fight. Could be
Yes.
tougher and better, hopefully, than many are thinking on paper. And then Mr. Lamana, Mr. Pork Chop, you know, he actually tells you a little bit without tell me without telling you that your ceiling is not A+ level. Tell me that. How? By being a boxing promoter. He actually acts as a boxing promoter oftentimes more than a manager. So, you
Great.
know, no offense
Wow.
to
Well
the guy,
said.
but
No.
part-time practitioner, unless things really go awry and Jamal is really boop, 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 shouldn't be any kind of a problem at all for Charlo to beat Lamana.
You said everything well, and I have no debate against it. I just want to make one clarification. Yes, Cornflake can be definitely accused of being a promoter more than a fighter at times, but I don't really fault him because his start in this sport, it was so unfair. You know, you look at guys like Ali, who was also Saddam Ali, who was also self-promoting himself at the very beginning, and these guys really had something in terms of a fandom in Jersey, or at least Cornflake did. And so, you know, he's in a position where it's like, do you fight with do you sign to a promoter who's going to use you as a B-side, or do you make your own money and you know, take advantage of your fandom at that point? I think he made the right decision for himself and his family. And at the end of the day, it's unfortunate that he never really got the chance to just be a fighter. But man, you know, I'm rooting for him.
Mario,
I don't think he's going to win, but I'm rooting for him, honestly.
I gotta say here, some of the energy on that card is weird. And it's mostly that Charlo Lamana. Charlo never answering back from the slap smack from Plant from around the world is fucking weird. And Lamana's energy during some of these press conferences and such is he's a little bit happy to be there, and he's actually bowed at Charlo's feet. Charlo today was trying to make him be like, just thank me for being on this. And Charlo was like, okay, thank you. Not the right energy. Not the right energy.
It's not.
So little weird. So that fight there, I'm going to be looking at it from a different standpoint of, you know, I'm not going to get my hopes up too high. That one, let's see what the fuck happens there, because Charlo, wild card.
You're absolutely right, dude. You're absolutely right. And you know, it's funny. You nailed it. You said there was something funny about this card. I didn't think about it until you said that. And now I think I might know what it is, because you saw Ellie setback, right? I'm not going to say accosted. That's not the right word, but confronted. Let's put it that way. Confronted by Caleb Plant for a narrative that Ellie put forth that I didn't agree with, by the way. That, you know, somehow Plant was the bitch in the moment when he slapped Charlo. I don't know how you get there with that, but they have successfully promoted this card for a fight that's not happening.
Okay,
you know what I mean? Charlo and Plant are not fighting each other.
Part of the weird.
And yet that's the
part of the
promotional
weird,
tool.
And that's part of the way that we shoot ourselves in both our fucking feet. Hello, right? And that the problem there is letting I don't want to say this because letting the inmates run the asylum.
Yes. That's what the Friday night Cinco de Mayo card felt like. It felt like the inmates were running the asylum.
BWE have that fucking measure of control and fucking right. They give up too much control. That there is an element of the corporation and the style of the platform of PBC and Heyman Boxing. There's a rudderlessness that allows for some of this to happen.
You're absolutely right. Before we get out of here, I want to read the only comment we got today, but from TikTok, from Francisco, who said, "Wow, Mike and Mario know more about wrestling and boxing than most people do either or." You're the champ for that, champ. You're the champ for that. This is the outlet for wrestling, MMA, and boxing. Covered all three for the last 10 years. So, you know, it is kind of my thing. You know, if you haven't told, if you weren't able to tell by the 10-year-old merchandise from wrestling and the figures and boxing and stuff.
You care.
Yeah, I do.
Message. You care.
I do, as do you, and that's why we love having you on, Woodsy. Mike Woods, one of the best in the business. It's just as simple as that. Journalism, commentating, doesn't matter. This man should be valued for all of his experience and knowledge. Mike, do you want to give out your socials real quick?
Sure. Twitter X @Woodsy1069, and on TikTok, trying to grow that up a little bit. What is it? Mike Woods Boxing, I think.
Mike Woods Boxing. Yeah. Perfect that you got that, dude, because I would have thought it would have been taken.
Right.
Good job. And
there's another Mike Woods. He is a meteorologist at the local Fox 5 station. I'm friends with him on Twitter. He's a black guy. He's a black guy.
Wow, that's
also
cool.
Mike Woods, and we're friends.
Is he also bald?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I honestly, I don't know why when you said it, I just imagined him bald.
Guess what?
I don't know why.
Guess what? I messaged him the other day because I'm a weirdo. And I'm like, yo, Mike Woods. Because we DM each other fucking randomly.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, I'm hoping there's going to be some good weather. And wouldn't it be funny if we did a show together? I don't know about what, but if it was Mike Woods and Mike Woods.
That would be hilarious.
And he answered back and he's like, maybe we could do that. And I'm like, oh, fuck, I don't know what it would be about. How much can I talk about the weather? And I don't know what else.
Hey,
but anyway,
listen, I got you. All right. Oh man, he's gonna get so mad at me. He's not gonna watch the stream. That's okay. I'll text it to you. I'll text you who. But I'm gonna give you
someone off.
I'm about to right now because I'm gonna tell you something he told me not to tell anybody. You know what you need to do?
What?
Just start using fucking AI. Dude, AI made my thumbnail. Did you see it? Did you get to see it?
Not yet, no.
Check it out when you get a chance.
Okay.
It's Canelo the night he was eating sushi, like the week that they announced the fight.
Yeah.
And I had Gronk replace his fork with a syringe, and the sushi was faked, and it was pretty hilarious. Okay. So, you know, the Gronk did that for me. ChatGPT gave me the topics for today. You know, all I did was go in there and say, what are the most interesting wrestling topics? What are the most interesting boxing topics? And once it starts that, it'll say like, oh, Plant was confronted Ellie Setback today about Jamal Charlo's slap. And it's like, okay, well, what are people saying about that? Whose side are they on? You know, what's the narrative? Like, you just keep probing AI. And one tip I'll give you that I haven't.
Don't have to pay. That is
exactly
out.
And
we want to get to the place where we got that extra money to have people pay them to do it.
And they are them. Dude, you're so right.
AI.
You're so right. Listen, I used to get paid on the Boxing Voice, right? To do jobs that AI does in a heartbeat. Better than me, faster than me, any chance that you get. You know, they made my yesterday's title. They made yesterday's hashtags. Like, I'm literally making it do everything.
Okay.
I just show up and talk about the stuff.
You saying that.
Use it, man. That'll give you some topics
moving forward, because that shit is your friend, but it's like fucking heroin is your friend.
That's true. It can be. You can overuse. You can get overly dependent.
Your friend knows. Your friend been around the block. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Heroin not your friend, but it really it does a good job pretending to be.
Yeah. Ooh, damn. Yo, that's a quote in a book right there that I would write down and remember forever. But listen, I want to thank you, Mike, for coming on, joining us. I want to thank everybody that tapped in, and let's see, what do we get today? 1 subscriber on Twitch, not bad. 3 on YouTube, I'll take it. All right, that's good enough for an hour 20
All right,
stream.
we'll
I'll take it.
we'll keep
Play
pushing
back.
it and put out a couple of the tidbits and spur some
I'm
fucking
100. I
conversation.
already wrote down the ones that I'm clipping from you, champ.
Yeah.
I'm
Thank
ready.
you. Because I got more of that, because this is a new age, and it's about,
dude,
it's about getting attention. It's about, who the fuck is Mike Woods? I don't never heard of Mike Woods.
Let me tell you.
What?
Let
He
me tell you.
he
Let
was
me
with
tell you what
ESPN
content.
for fucking 12 years. What?
Let me tell you the content I would love to see from you. Right? I would love to see you clip.
Yeah.
Or like take a picture of like whatever Fight Hype boxing scene article that's just come out, breaking news, and you giving us like a 60-second overview of it, your narratives, right?
Listen,
that's what I would love to see. And it's so easy. It's so easy.
Maybe I hire you to help me do that a little bit.
I could give you a 1-hour demonstration.
Okay.
That would, you wouldn't even need the full hour.
Bro.
And you would be able to
I'll take any kind of help and learning this new media and methodology a lot better.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing. You're only going to need 1 session, because you're not going to believe how easy it is. Because I come from the generation of Pro Tools. I come from the generation of GarageBand, and those shits were hard to learn. I used to be a rapper, Mike. I don't know if I've ever told you that. But
I've never done it because ADHD, motherfucker. So
listen,
maybe this is
WordPress.
A new me.
Okay, and you know WordPress, right?
The ADHD.
Exactly. Yo, WordPress, in terms of difficulty, WordPress, TikTok's all the way down here in terms of difficulty. WordPress, so much harder to navigate, especially from a week-to-week standpoint, where they make updates that fucking completely shift the entire structure of WordPress.
Yeah. And
TikTok is not that.
Fucking all the fucking plugins.
Oh my God. If I never have to deal with another plugin in my life, I will be a happy man. But anyway, Mike, I love having you. I hope you come back maybe next week or something. We can talk about it after the fight.
Absolutely. I never dislike it, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Hell yeah, champ. I appreciate it. You can follow me at Mario MUNGUIA on all social medias, and the new channel at Infighting Exchange. That's Infighting FX. 1 word.
Okay.
And that's all you got to do is
I will spread that around. I didn't know about that.
You're the champ. Yeah, Mike. I don't think I told you. They burned my Twitter account and my IG account.
I just looked for your fucking Twitter account. Yeah.
They shadow banned me. Look, I'm not going to say that I didn't deserve it, but I am going to say that I think the only reason I popped up on the radar is because I've been talking crazy shit about Elon online. And I don't even like dislike him or anything. Yeah. And
ramifications, my man. Watch out for the fucking ramifications.
Yo, Matt, champ, shout out to Machine Gun Matt. He said Mario is the mole in the Nello camp. That's right, champ. That's how I got that picture. You didn't know. But yeah, listen, everybody watching on playback, appreciate it. Please hit the share. Please hit the like. And until next time, peace.